Morning, everybody. Welcome to today's Theological Leftover. I read something, learned something that I kind of want to share with you today. It doesn't come from one of our readings. It's from a book that I was reading. I've modified it a little bit to make it work in my own brain, and I hope that this will be helpful for you today. I want to talk, we've been talking about reconciliation quite a bit, and I thought I was done with that, but I found this thing that was really insightful to me, and I think is going to be really helpful for me when I consider my conversations with other people, and especially my tendency to argue with other people. And so that's what I want to talk about a little bit today, and I got the board to help us out here. I want to talk about arguing and what causes arguments to digress, and I think this will help. I put 3 things down, and this part I didn't read anywhere, I just made up. But what motivates an argument, what sustains the argument, and what's forgotten when we digress into an argument. That's what we want to talk about today. And the first thing is the motivator. The motivator is usually something that is shallow. It's not a big deal, okay? So, for example, in the church, in a congregation, something that might motivate an argument would be the color of the carpet. All right? Is that important? No, it's not really that important. Does it cause arguments? Sure it does. Colors on the wall, what kind of furniture we have. These things can become big arguments in the church. They can even cause, I suppose, splits. Certainly, maybe not a church in half, but it determines whether or not this person is going to be somebody that I can deal with, or this is somebody that maybe we'd be better off without. And unfortunately, that sort of thing happens in our family life and our congregational life all the time. But it usually starts, it's motivated by something shallow, like the color of the carpet. Let's use that as an example. The problem is, if I get angry at you because I don't like the color that you have picked of the carpet, I can't get that far with that argument before I start feeling stupid and I have to start arguing. Stop arguing, right? This needs to be sustained if the argument's really going to build some steam, if it's really going to digress into something awful, right? So I need more than just the shallow motivator. What sustains it? Something that's not shallow, right? Something that is, what's a good word for it? Something that is substantial. Let's stick with our S's. Substantial. So how can I take substantial? Sorry, can't spell and talk at the same time. So what can we take from the color of the carpet in an argument about the carpeting? How can we turn that into a substantial argument? Got any ideas? Maybe you have some experience. How does it go from being shallow to substantial? You may think, there's no way you can take something as foolish as arguing over the color carpet and turn it into something that is a sustainable argument. Oh, yes, we can. We're really good at it, in fact. For example, I'm not arguing about the color of the carpet. The color of the carpet isn't what makes me mad. What makes me mad is the way we went about going. I can't say it. The way we went about making this decision, right? Not enough people were consulted. Okay, now see how that's the polity. That's substantial. That's at least more substantial than the color of the carpet. I can really get myself going, and I can argue for days about the polity, how we went about going. Why can't I say that? How we went about making that decision. I can argue about that for days, even if I can't say what I mean to say. Right? That one doesn't float your boat. Can you think of another one? I can. I can think of a bunch of them if you give me enough time. How about, let's say not polity. Let's make it really substantial. Let's make the color of the carpet theological, right? We didn't even want carpet. We wanted to put in tiling because the liturgy sounds so much better if if we have the tile, we have the acoustics. The carpeting kills the acoustics. Don't you care about the liturgy? Right? I mean, we can come up with a million different things. We can come up with a million different ways of taking this shallow motivator and turning it into a substantial argument that can be sustained for a long time so that we can really do some damage. And we do this, don't we? We do this. Unfortunately, what's forgotten in the argument when it's motivated by something shallow and we found something to really keep that fire burning? The thing that's forgotten are, the things that are forgotten are the relationships, right? The relationships are forgotten. And as we've said all along with this conversation on reconciliation, with all of our talking together podcasts, the relationships are the thing. The purpose of language is to love our neighbor, right? To love our neighbor. Now, imagine if we turn this on its head, and I've kind of run out of room on the board where you can see it, but imagine if we turn it upside down and we start here. All of a sudden, these things aren't so bad, right? We are looking for a reason to have a conversation about substantial things, right? We should be glad when something happens that causes us to be able to talk about serious things. But what should be at the center? Our relationships. And I don't just mean our relationships with one another. This isn't about just trying to keep everybody happy. We want to talk about difficult topics, substantial things, right? Because we're not just talking about our relationship with one another. We're talking about our relationship with God, right? And these shallow things sometimes give us an opportunity to talk about substantial, deep, meaningful, important, sometimes difficult to talk about things about God. But whenever we're using language, we want to keep relationships at the center of it, right? We don't want them to be the forgotten thing. The moment that we forget that the purpose of our conversation is to love one another and to love God, these things take over. And when these things take over and we forget about this, we end up with the argument. It's when we lose sight of the purpose of language, love God, love your neighbor, that these things spiral out of control into something that does damage to what it's supposed to build up and support. Something for you to think about today. Reminder, we have lots of Bible classes going on during the week. A confessional study on the Augsburg Confession on Saturdays at 10 o'clock. We have a Sunday Bible study at 9 o'clock. We're going through Revelation. And, of course, 10:30 is our is the Divine Service, which you are most welcome to join us for that. And then Wednesday, we are doing our midweek Lenten services, doing a series by Reed Lessing that's been real good, Witnesses to Christ, and we've had a lot of fun with that. So you are invited to join us in person, and if you like the online stuff, please subscribe to make sure that you get that. One great way to subscribe is to check out the newsletter that we send out weekly that pretty much combines all the stuff that we get. You can kind of pick what you want to what you want to spend more time with. If you send an email to us, we'll make sure you get subscribed to that weekly newsletter. God bless you all. Have a wonderful week.